pain. Lots of pain flying around my body. One minute I was enjoying life, and then I'm at the hospital, with doctors around me fighting for my life. When I finally opened my eyes, I saw doctors, nurses, and my parents standing over and looking down at me. I tried to get up, but I couldn't move an inch. I panicked, struggled, and tried again, but no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't move. My parents and the doctor then tried to calm me, but I didn't understand what was happening. When I was finally calm, I was told that there had been an accident, a car crash, and the impact was so strong that I will be paralyzed forever. I didn't know what paralyzed meant at the time, but then it was explained to me that I wouldn't walk again. At 10 years old, I just couldn't understand this. Why had this happened? Why couldn't they fix me? Myself and my whole family was in shock. From that moment on, my whole life changed. I now only moved in a wheelchair. I ate only from my dad's, mom's, or nurse's hands or through tubes. I was always in pain, and I even had to wear diapers. In addition, my school life was ruined, and I couldn't experience life as a normal kid. I always thought about how life was unfair, and I was suffering. But back then, I didn't see that the people who were truly suffering were my parents. It started a year after the accident. I started to witness my father coming home late almost every day. I saw how every time he spoke with my mom, she would cry. When I tried to talk about it, they would just fake a smile and avoid the question. Then, I started to suspect something. You see, back when it all started, I didn't have any money worries. I was only 10 and just didn't understand money. But when I turned 13, I started asking more questions, and my parents finally told me that my father had to work 5 jobs to pay the bills. 5 jobs! They kept the numbers as far away from me as they could, but later, I discovered that I was costing my parents about $10,000 a year. Can you believe it? $10,000? It felt like a slap in the face to me. I've always been complaining about my hard life, but what I really didn't realize was how unfair life really was to my parents. My parents put on a brave face and would say everything was fine. My mom always had time for me, playing with me, watching my favorite movies, and listening to my stupid stories even though she was working too. I didn't see my dad most of the time, but when he was home, instead of relaxing, he was paying attention to me. That is when I started feeling like a parasite. My parents had been giving their life away for whom? An invalid child who needs a nurse watching her 24/7 and will never help them when they get old? I didn't know what to do. I felt worthless. I felt sorry for my parents, but I felt even sorrier that I could do nothing about the situation. I started to act like a total brat so my parents would hate me and stop paying for me. I started to close off, avoid private conversations, never letting them in. I would have terrible mood swings and would shout at my parents if there was even the smallest problem. I remember once, I was sitting there being fed a drink of cherry juice. As the juice entered my mouth, I shook my head on purpose so it would come flying out. I watched as the red juice flew through the air and splashed down my mom's white dress. I really thought that an attitude like this will make them hate me, but it just didn't work. No matter what I did, they still loved and cared for me, doing everything they could to make me happy. Once, some of my mom's friends came to visit. I was in the living room watching TV when I heard my mom talking. "My little girl is so brave," she was telling her friends. "Even because of what happened, she is a fighter." I couldn't believe my ears. Then I screamed, "No, I'm no fighter. That's all you, Mom, Dad, medicine, and doctors." Then I fell out of the chair, crashed to the floor, and couldn't stop crying. My dad carried me to my room where I could calm down or go to sleep. But when I was feeling down, I couldn't sleep. I felt like I was in a storm. 1 second calm, and the next crazy, with my mind spinning. An hour later, my parents came to my room. "Sweetie, are you okay? If there is something you want to talk about, you can talk to us." I burst into tears, telling my parents everything about my depression, what a slug I felt I was, and how they were suffering because of that. My parents hugged me. "Dear, you're priceless. Why didn't you tell us everything sooner?" When their arms wrapped around me, I felt a calming sensation, and I quickly stopped crying. I allowed them to show me affection, which before I had rejected. This was the first time in 2 years that I actually felt really happy. Now, everything has changed. My dad got a big promotion from his job, so he didn't have to work 5 jobs at once. I went to see a therapist, and it really helps. I even made some friends, and we have sleepovers at my house every Friday. I know that life of an invalid is hard, but no matter what happens, I know that I have people in the world who love me, care deeply for me, and accept me as I am. If you are an invalid and watching this story, know that even in the darkest moments in your life, there are people who love you.